Yes, sir. No problem. So, again, I appreciate you for joining me. I'm Jared with Mad Collectives. I got Coach Kreider here with me from Rice men's basketball, and it's an honor to have him on the program and kind of tell a little story about yourself, highlight yourself, the program, and give some general recruiting tips or potentially NIL tips for athletes or parents that are, going through the uh, athlete journey. It's a lot of uh, verticals, I guess you could say, within the athlete journey. So, we'll just try to get your background, your thought process, and expertise. So, we'll jump in. I appreciate it. Hold on one second. I got a list of questions, but we'll go off the top some as well. So, to start off, a little icebreaker. So, what's one basketball movie or documentary that you think every coach should watch and why?
Oh boy. Yeah, that's a good question there. I don't watch a lot of movies. If you're just
Okay.
making it basketball, I'll just say The Last Dance just because it's my favorite player growing up. I think it's good as a basketball player to know the history of the game. Everybody, the whole GOAT conversation comes up in every locker room. It's LeBron, it's MJ, which one is it? So, all the players, right now have different answers to that, but coming up it was MJ and just the behind the scenes in that it was cool for me to just see some of those stories behind the scenes of what it was really like to play with a guy like him, how competitive he was, and all that. So I would have to go with that one.
Yeah, no, he was pretty intense. I know I watched some of the documentary and evidently it worked. It helped lead him to multiple championships and played with a lot of the best and really brought out the best in his teammates. So, no, that was a really good documentary. And so another I guess question about your background. I saw that you majored in Spanish and you have a very big impact on like the Spanish broadcasting there. I know Spanish is important out here in Southern California. It's kind of like a culture shock to me initially whenever I moved out here, being from Mississippi. And even now my son is biracial and bilingual. So I see the importance of having, multilingual opportunities for, athletes and families and parents. So kind of give me a little background about that and inform me on that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you did a little homework there.
I did.
We had a Latin night. What you're referring to, I think we had a Latin night at Rice this past season. I had met um, a couple people at Rice that helped us put together basically the first Spanish speaking broadcast of a live game, which was pretty cool. And why was that important to me? I guess, the cool thing about coaching and what you're doing too, what we were talking about before we got on is everyone has a story. Every athlete has a story. Myself, every coach has a story. And my story is a little unique. I grew up in Colombia, South America. My parents were missionaries. I lived there for 5 years, ages 8 to 13. And so I knew I wanted to coach. And when I came back to the United States, went to college, I had to figure out, okay, what do I major in? If I know I want to coach, how do I do it? I went down the business. I thought I wanted to get into the business world. I took econ and couldn't do that. And I decided to major in Spanish because I just had from my time in Colombia, I just fell in love with the country, the language, the culture, the music, the food, everything. So ended up basically Spanish education was my major. I did everything except student teaching. And so ever since, now being in coaching for almost, I think this will be my 24th season of coaching, I always
Okay.
try to combine whether it's international recruiting. I just always look for ways to incorporate the two, my love of uh, the Spanish language and the culture and the people with my love of basketball. So it's just who I am. It's part of me. Just because of how I was raised, my worldview was affected by how I came up.
Nice, nice. That's cool. It's really cool to hear, especially the background coming from Colombia. And I even now just see the opportunities of international play at the professional level becoming such a big opportunity for players and something that I feel like more athletes should capitalize on. Like even just in my playing career, that's something that I wish I would have at least looked into more or even, tried it because I hear so many good experiences about people playing overseas or playing internationally in different leagues, professional leagues. So, I think that's cool that you're really pushing that and advocating for that.
Most definitely. We
So,
actually we actually took a trip with our team this year to France and Belgium. So our players
okay.
got a firsthand look. For we played 3 games. We were there for 9 days, so that was really cool. Kind of like you're saying, they say they want to play overseas potentially. They got to see it
Right. No, that's nice. I'm sure that was an awesome experience.
for sure.
All right. So just moving into your coaching and some of your career. So you coached at multiple levels and institutions. So what's been your like through line, your personal North Star as you built your career?
Personally, my faith and my family are the two most important things. I love basketball. It does not define me, but I love it. It's my passion. I feel like, the cliche where you don't feel like you're working a day in your life. That's how I feel coaching. Like you said, coached at different levels, high school, NAIA Division II, played Division III. So I've seen a lot of levels and it's a lot the same. It's the game of basketball. Everyone has a dream that they're trying to chase, whether it's professional basketball or the guys that see it as a vehicle to get a really good degree at a place like Rice now. So you're just always trying to use the game that we love to help these guys be the best versions of themselves. They have different goals. And so just having played myself and now being 45 years old, I look back at what I wish I would have known or wish I would have done. And you try to impart that wisdom on a daily basis through the game of basketball.
Nice, nice. And even at 45, I still feel like that's pretty young. And then you say you've been in the game over 20 years. So I mean you got in it pretty early.
I
That's
did.
impressive.
I caught a break. I knew what I wanted to do, and someone gave me an opportunity, and very appreciative.
Nice, nice. So what are some key lessons as you just like transition through those different stages and levels? Like what are some lessons that you learned throughout your career?
I like to equate a lot to as a player. I know you played baseball, and so as a player, you had a routine every day, so you have to be very dedicated to your craft and have things you do every day. If there's a day that goes by that you didn't work out when you were a player, you felt like you were behind. Well, same thing as a coach. You have your routine and you have your work that you need to get done. I
Mhm.
would also say uh, you want to be organized in this profession. You got to be organized when it comes to all the hats you have to wear, whether it's recruiting, scheduling, academic monitoring, on the court player development, scouting, you name it. There's a lot of things you have to do. So if you can't manage your time, obviously that's a problem. And then number three, I would also just say it's all as an assistant, it's all about who you work for, being the head coach. You try to align yourself with people that believe the same thing and are chasing the same things you are. I mentioned my family's important, so I've always tried to work for and with really good people that understand that. Because what I have noticed, the older I get or the more I stay in this with social media and technology the way it is, you can really do this thing 24 hours a day if you wanted to, but you have to pick and choose, okay, what's really most important to you? You talked about the North Star, and my family's very important. So I want to work with someone that understands that I'd like to see my daughter, uh, every night when I can, and still get the job done and still do a really good job. So it's finding that balance, uh, the best that you can.
Nice, nice. Oh, that's good. I feel like that hit home with me too, and just finding the balance of everything that we're doing. And no, that's good. That was good. That was good feedback. All right. So moving through just philosophy, culture. So, what are some non-negotiables for you in a team environment, as far as maybe like values, habits, communication, accountability? What are some values in the team culture?
Yeah, I think within a team, now you have to do it so much more quickly,
Mhm,
especially in college. There was a time when you could pretty much expect that you're gonna coach, a young man for 4 years or close to it. So now you have to build this team that you're talking about very quickly with transfers coming in, and you
mhm,
have to establish, what are your non-negotiables. So first things that come to mind is just doing the right thing at all times, whether you're in the gym, on campus, at home, in the apartment. just making good decisions because in reality, everything matters, every single thing. So for us, academics come very important, are very important. And at a place like Rice, if you don't value that, it's hard to survive academically, being a top 20 academic school. So to build a team, you need guys that value academics, that care about winning. They're there to chase their personal journey, but they're there to win because to win, you need a lot of guys to come together, sacrifice, do all the things that every good team knows is required to win. But it's those good days, bad days, the ups and the downs. Like, can you manage everyone and keep everyone, coaches included, on the same page, working towards the same goal on a consistent basis, and just keep pushing it. Everyone says stack days, and that's really what it is.
I got you. Now I'm learning that some on my level too. Like we have some youth teams that we're building and developing, and just working to get them, hopefully to the collegiate level and beyond if that's their aspirations. But I found that was one of the biggest things is just trying to find that balance of a solid culture with so many different personalities. And then, like you said, just being able to push through those ups and downs, good days and bad days, and still keep everybody gelling and everybody together. So that's been one of the challenges or uh, I don't want to say like a bad challenge, but it's
Right.
challenging as a coach, and it keeps you on your toes, just trying to
For
make
sure.
sure that you have a team cohesion. So
Right.
that was good insight. So getting into a little on-court development coaching, and how do you approach integrating like analytics, player tracking, and data into daily coaching decisions or adjustments? Are you guys big on analysis and analytics, or are you more traditional style coach, or a little hybrid both?
Yeah, I would say hybrid of both. We like
Okay.
to use analytics as a tool. You want to trust your eyes. Coach Lanier here and our staff, we've been doing it a long time. And, you want to trust what you're looking at, but you also want to look out for your blind spots with the use of numbers. So at Rice, we have a really cool group of guys. It's a RSAT program, it's called, and basically it's an analytical group on campus at Rice. We met the other day, and there's 10 plus guys that are interested, and they're just looking for ways to get involved. A lot of them want to get in the NBA or into analytics, for front office and different things. So they're looking for projects. They're there to do advanced scouts for us, player projects, upon our request. So we're set up with that, and then we have access to the normal, whether it's Ken Palm, Bartorvik, a lot of the college basketball analytic programs, and then some places I've been, we've subscribed to, there's outside services, like HDI and different analytical parties that have really done a good job now that you can find out anything you need to find out, and then it's a matter of not giving your players too much. You want to have them playing, with a clear mind.
Yeah.
It's more about the coaches and figuring out how to use it internally.
All right. That's good feedback. I feel like, especially with baseball, they're getting very metric heavy, analytic heavy, and like you said, it's tough to compete if you have a lot of metrics running through your head that you're trying to hit in game, or I feel like it takes away the focus from just going out there and naturally competing. So I feel like there's definitely a balance needed, and it's good that you guys have like a hybrid model to be able to incorporate it, but still focus on just raw competition at the end of the day.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's cool. That's cool. So a few more questions. I don't want to keep you too long. This was more going into recruiting. Again, I like to keep it general. So what qualities do you feel like a recruit should focus on when trying to get into the next level? Beyond stats, as far as like attitude, resiliency, coachability, like what are some qualities that you would give to an athlete looking to play at the next level or get recruited?
Yeah, I'll hit the big ones. I would say number one, I'm at Rice, so I have to say the transcript number one. Like,
Mhm.
I think just focus on if you don't know what your core GPA is today, no matter what grade you're in, like you need to know what your core GPA is so you can either get it higher or do if you're doing the best you can, that's all you can do. But the better you can do in school academically, the more options you're going to have. That's just a fact. And then, number two, I would start figuring out, okay, what type of situation am I looking for? Am I looking for a high academic school? What schools interest me? I would target them, and I would be aggressive because now the reality is if you equate recruiting to a game of musical chairs for a high school student athlete, there's less chairs now. So the music's still going, but somebody just took away a bunch of chairs, and now these same number of athletes are circling around these four, five, six chairs instead of 25 that were, let's say, available. So it's more competitive, so you have to stand out. How are you going to stand out? Coachable, like you said, like first and foremost. Two, high energy. Three, are you an everyday guy? Do you show up every day? Four, do you love the game? Five, are you about winning? Those are five that just off the dome just came to my head, I guess. But I think the reality is you have to give yourself the most options possible. And it's not to say you can't make a mistake or think anything like that, but you want to be forward thinking and try to get ahead of this process and be as strategic as you can because the reality is it's a lot harder now.
Nice. That's good. I like that you mentioned a lot of intangibles. I feel like a lot of athletes are very stat focused and like we talked about earlier, just metric focused. But a lot of the stuff that you mentioned were a lot of intangibles as far as personality, showing up every day, putting the best foot forward. So I feel like that's valuable information for a lot of athletes to hear. That's good. So a few more, and I'll let you get out of here. I definitely appreciate you so far.
For sure.
Last one, more of the NIL side, branding side. I know this is new. Every program or is doing things differently. So how do you help your players navigate, brand building and NIL considerations, in alignment with the NCAA? Are you guys supporting your athletes internally, or what is kind of the things that your program is doing, if you're able to speak on it?
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. We talk a lot about the Rice experience. So at Rice, high academic school, top 20, talked about that. We're in the American Conference, high level basketball. And then also, campus is amazing. I don't know if you've ever been here, high quality of life. So those three things are going for us. Well, in this new world, uh, our athletic director, Tommy McClellan, and Rice University have really been forward thinking with how we can help our guys and our student athletes. He's hired a general manager, Tasha Moser, former Olympian. She is on staff and basically helping with a lot of the contractual stuff regarding NLI and RevShare, NIL and RevShare for our guys. Different talks. They're exploring different things on how to help, whether it's financial literacy, taxes, all this stuff. But then Rice also has something that's been around for a while. We call it the SOAR program, SOAR, basically a student athlete opportunity on a weekly basis. There's seminars, there's all kinds of opportunities that are, some of this stuff is NIL related, but also just off the court, real life things that it's a comprehensive program that three people are in charge of. It's their full-time job to conduct this, and there's an aspect where our guys are basically required to do a lot of this stuff. And so I think it's a good way to balance you have this true NIL, and then you have the rev share that I think every university is still trying to figure out how to best implement the system. But I think Rice is far ahead just by bringing Tasha on board and having the SOAR program already in place.
Yeah, that's nice, and that's cool to hear that you guys have the sort program. I feel like that's extremely beneficial, especially as an athlete. I wasn't in the NIL era, so I feel like I missed out. But even just when getting out of school, I felt like it was tough then navigating real world issues, real world encounters. And, sometimes I look back, if I was prepared a little bit more, financially or on financial literacy, or being able to monetize myself, or, just the things that you learn that could support you, well after your playing career, that I feel like a lot of the skill set that you need to be a successful person in NIL. It helps you learn. So I feel like that's a cool program to have. I don't hear a lot of programs, having things like that. So that's pretty cool to hear. All right. So last one, we'll close it out before we get out of here. So what's one piece of coaching advice you received earlier in your career that you still carry?
This one's fresh on my mind just because, I was talking actually, we have three grad assistants on our staff, and we were talking the other day, just every once in a while, as in this profession, you get going so fast, whether it's recruiting or in season, and we forget to really sit these young guys down and to help them the way that we've been helped in the past. So we sat down and we were talking, and I just relayed this one piece of advice, um, that you're only going to get one reputation. And so early on in your career, as a GA, I was telling them their next opportunity is going to come from someone most likely that they may know, or someone that our staff probably will know. That's probably how it's going to go, one of those two ways. And it's about who you know gets you there, what you know keeps you there. So you have to do that. And then this is the real piece of advice that someone gave me, is try to figure out what world of coaching you want to be in and get there as quickly as you can. So I was telling them, if you want to be a high school coach, probably try to get into high school coaching, that world as quickly as you can and get experience in that world. If you want to get into the NBA, try to get there quickly, work your way up, because once you're in that world, they tend to hire from within. And college basketball, Division I, same thing. If you want to be a Division I assistant, let's say, then try to get in that world, because they're all so different. And so someone told me that early, and I really tried to, I had a dream of coaching at the Division I level, and I followed that advice, and I've kind of the last 20 years kind of watched how this whole thing works, and that's really what it is. Um, and so I think the more we can help our young guys as they come up, I think we owe them that.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good advice, even for me. That was inspiring just to, I always know like you gotta keep pushing to get into that room. I feel like a lot of things happen when you get into the room and then, like you said, have that presence and not tarnishing your reputation. So that was cool. That was good
Well,
advice.
and I'll add this last thing. So what I meant to say when I said you get one reputation is so that whatever job they end up going for, the person on the other end of the phone is going to say, would you do it if you were me? Would you hire him if you were me? And the answer has to be yes, I would do it. It's a no-brainer. That's what so every day, are you working that way? Because every day is an interview, really, when you think about it, for those guys in the program. So uh, that just wanted to finish that thought.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. No, thank you so much, Coach. And that's it. I won't keep you too long. That was some really good information, some very valuable insight, and truly appreciate you for taking the time and sit down and answer some questions and highlight yourself and give some insight. So, no, again, I appreciate it. I wrap it up. I do want to ask a couple questions